The conference room at station was full of worried faces. Most of those faces did not look human. The head of station safety stood at the front of the room. His scales were a deep green color, and they seemed to darken when he was upset. Right now, they were very dark. "Another death," said, his voice heavy. "That makes 847 casualties in 3 years, all from wildlife encounters." The other instructors shifted in their seats. There were 6 of them, each from a different species. None of them were human. They taught survival skills to colonists who would live on frontier worlds, worlds where dangerous animals lived. "The protocol is clear," said one instructor, a tall being with 4 arms. "Avoid all wildlife. If you see an animal, you retreat, you hide, you call for extraction. This is the only way to stay alive." Nodded, yes, and yet colonists keep dying, they panic, they run, the animals chase them. He paused. "I have requested a new instructor, someone with a different approach." The door opened. A human walked in. He was not very tall, but he moved with confidence. His hair was black, and he had warm brown eyes that seemed to notice everything. He wore simple clothes, tough pants, a jacket and boots that had seen many miles. "This is Jin," said. "He comes from Earth. He worked as a ranger in the wilderness there." The other instructors stared. One of them, an insect-like being called, made a clicking sound of distress. "A human," said. "But humans are from a death world. They do not understand proper caution." Jin smiled. It was a gentle smile. "Actually, I understand caution very well. I just also understand animals." Another human entered behind him. She was shorter, with her hair tied back in a practical way. She carried a data pad and several books. "This is Haewon," Jin said. She studies alien life forms. We will be working together." Haewon gave a small bow. "Thank you for having us." Gestured for them to sit. "Please explain your methods." Jin sat down. He looked at each instructor in turn. "I have read your reports. I have studied the incident logs. The problem is not the wildlife. The problem is fear." "Fear keeps us alive," the 4-armed instructor said firmly. "Fear without understanding gets you killed," Jin replied. "On Earth we have many dangerous animals, bears that can crush bones, cats that hunt in the dark, snakes with deadly poison. We learn to live with them, not by running, not by hiding, by understanding." His antennae twitched nervously. "Understanding? How can you understand a creature that wants to eat you?" "Most creatures do not want to eat you," Haewon said, looking up from her data pad. "They want to eat their normal food. You are just something strange and scary to them. If you understand their behavior, you can avoid conflict." Jin leaned forward. "I want to run an experiment, a 2-week survival course on Verdes 4. It is the forest moon you use for basic training. I will take a group of students. I will teach them a different way." The room went silent. Then everyone started talking at once. "Impossible. Too dangerous. You will get them all killed." Held up a hand. The room became quiet again. "Verdes 4 has predators, large ones. The students might panic." "Yes," Jin said calmly, "and I will teach them not to panic. I will teach them to read the animals, to understand what the animals want, to know when there is real danger and when there is just fear." "And if a student gets hurt?" asked. "We will have emergency beacons," Haewon said, "tracking implants, medical supplies, and we will not take risks that are truly dangerous, but we must take some risks or they will never learn." Was quiet for a long time. His scales slowly changed to a lighter green. "You may proceed, but I want full monitoring, emergency extraction teams on standby, and you will start with volunteers only." "Thank you," Jin said. 3 days later, Jin stood in the station's main hall. A crowd had gathered. News of the human survival course had spread quickly. Many thought it was madness. Others were curious. 12 students stood in front of Jin. They were all from different species. Some had scales, some had fur, Some had shells. All of them looked nervous. One student was the insect-like instructor who had objected in the meeting. He had decided to see for himself if the human method could work. Another was an amphibious being with smooth blue skin, believed in following rules and protocols, but also wanted to survive better on frontier worlds. "Welcome," Jin said. His voice was clear but not loud. "For the next 2 weeks we will live in the forest. We will learn about the animals there. We will learn to find food, to build shelter, to stay warm and dry. Most importantly, we will learn that wildlife is not your enemy." "But wildlife kills colonists," one student said. "Fear kills colonists," Jin corrected. "Wildlife is just trying to survive, same as you. When you understand this, everything changes." Haewon stepped forward. "We have supplies for emergencies only. You will learn to make what you need from the forest itself. You will learn to watch and listen, to move carefully, to respect the space of other creatures." "What if we are attacked?" asked. "Then I will protect you," Jin said simply. "But I do not think you will be attacked. I think you will be surprised at what you discover." The transport ship was ready, came to see them off. His scales were dark green again. "Are you certain about this?" asked quietly. Jin looked at the nervous students. "No," he said honestly, "but the current method is not working. People are dying because they only know how to be afraid. It is time to try something new." "Many in the Federation think humans are reckless," said. "Maybe we are," Jin replied. "Or maybe we just learned different lessons. On Earth we could not avoid the wildlife. We had to live with it, so we learned. We adapted. We survived." Haewon added, "And now we thrive, not by conquering nature, by being part of it." The transport lifted off. Through the window, Jin could see Verdi's 4 below. It was covered in green forests, beautiful, wild, dangerous to those who did not understand it. As they descended toward the landing zone, clicked nervously. "Instructor Jin, what if the animals do not follow your rules?" Jin smiled. "Animals always follow their own rules. Our job is to learn what those rules are." The ship landed in a clearing. The door opened. The sounds of the forest poured in, birds calling, insects buzzing, leaves rustling in the wind. The students hesitated at the door. "Come," Jin said, walking out first. "Your education begins now." One by one, the students followed him into the wilderness. Behind them, the ship's door closed. For the next 2 weeks, they would live by the human way. The forest watched them with 1,000 eyes, and Jin smiled because he knew something the students did not yet understand. Those eyes were not filled with hunger. They were filled with curiosity. Just like his own. The first night in the forest was difficult for the students. Every sound made them jump. Every shadow looked like a predator. 3 students activated their emergency beacons before midnight. Jin calmly deactivated the beacons. "That was the wind," he said, pointing to the moving branches. "That was a bird settling down to sleep. That was a small creature eating insects." "How do you know?" asked, his antennae flat against his head in fear. "I listen," Jin said. "Each sound is different. Each sound tells a story. You will learn to hear these stories." Haewon built up the fire. The students huddled close to the flames. In the trees above them, eyes reflected the firelight. "Something is watching us," whispered urgently. "Yes," Jin said, looking up. "A tree dweller, probably wondering what we are, not hungry, just curious." "How can you be sure?" asked. "Because hungry predators do not sit and watch. They observe from hiding. They plan. They move in specific ways." Jin pointed upward. "That one is relaxed. See how it is sitting on the branch. If it felt threatened or was hunting, it would crouch differently." The creature in the tree made a soft chirping sound. Then it jumped to another branch and disappeared into the darkness. "It decided we are not interesting," Haewon said with a smile. "A good sign." The next morning, the real lessons began. Jin led the group through the forest slowly. He stopped often. He pointed out signs that the students would never have noticed before. "See these marks on the tree bark," he said, running his fingers over deep scratches. "A large animal made these, sharpening its claws. This tells us the animal was here, what direction it went, and how tall it is." "Should we run?" a student asked. "No, we should pay attention." Jin bent down and examined the ground. "These marks are old, several days. The animal is not nearby, but now we know this is part of its territory. We will be respectful." Haewon showed them animal droppings. Several students made sounds of disgust. "This is valuable information," she said, unaffected by their reactions. "This tells us what the animal eats. This one ate berries and small insects. That means it is not a pure predator. It will not see us as food." As they walked deeper into the forest, suddenly froze. "Movement," he clicked softly. "Ahead, large." Everyone stopped. Jin looked where was pointing. Through the trees they could see something moving, something big. The students started to back away. Jin held up his hand. "Wait, watch, do not run." A creature stepped into view. It was massive. 6 legs supported a body as large as a transport vehicle. It had a long neck and a small head. Its skin was rough and gray. It was eating leaves from a low branch. "Death beast," breathed. "The reports warned us about these." "That is an herbivore," Jin said quietly. "It eats plants, not meat." "But it is so large, it could crush us." "Yes, if we threaten it or its young, but we are not going to threaten it, we are going to observe it." Jin slowly sat down on the ground. "Everyone sit, move slowly, no sudden movements." The students sat, though many were shaking. The creature had noticed them. It stopped eating. Its small eyes looked at the group. "It is deciding if we are dangerous," Haewon whispered. "Stay calm, do not make eye contact. That can be seen as a challenge." Jin took something from his pack, a piece of dried fruit. He placed it on the ground in front of him. Then he slowly stood up and backed away. The creature watched. It took a step forward, then another. The students held their breath. The creature reached the fruit with its long neck. A tongue came out and took the fruit. The creature chewed slowly. Then, to everyone's shock, the creature took another step closer. It lowered its head near Jin. The instructor remained very still. Slowly, very slowly, Jin raised his hand. He touched the creature's neck. The rough skin was warm under his fingers. "Hello," Jin said softly. "We mean you no harm." The creature made a low rumbling sound, not aggressive, almost pleased. After a moment, the creature pulled away. It went back to eating leaves, but it did not leave. It stayed near the group, comfortable with their presence. You touched it," said in disbelief. "The death beast let you touch it." "It is not a death beast," Jin said. "It is an animal like you. It wants to be safe. Like you, it can feel curiosity. Like you, it responds to kindness." The group sat with the creature for an hour. They watched how it moved, how it ate, how it rested. They learned that the creature checked for danger by lifting its head and turning its ears. They learned that it communicated with other creatures using low sounds that the students could barely hear. When they finally moved on, the creature watched them go. It did not seem afraid. It seemed almost sad to see them leave. "I have never seen anything like that," said. "In all my training, they said animals would attack on sight." "Some will," Haewon said, "but not all. And even predators do not attack without reason. They attack when they are hungry or afraid or protecting their territory. If you understand these reasons, you can avoid conflict." That afternoon, Jin taught them to read the signs of different animals. Some left tracks in the soft earth. Some left marks on trees. Some left scent markings that Haewon could identify with a small scanner. "This is a predator," she said, showing them a paw print. "See the claw marks, see the shape. This animal hunts." "Should we leave this area?" a student asked. "No," Jin said. "We should understand this area. The predator hunts in the early morning and late evening. During the middle of the day, it rests. Right now, it is probably sleeping somewhere. We are safe." Probably asked nervously. In the wilderness there is no complete safety, Jin said honestly. But there is understanding, there is respect, there is caution without panic. These things will keep you alive much better than fear and running. They built their camp for the night near a stream. The water was clear and cold. Jin showed them how to check if water was safe to drink. Haewon showed them which plants near the water were edible and which were poisonous. As the sun began to set, Jin taught them to build a proper fire, not just for warmth but as a signal. Fire tells animals that intelligent beings are here, he explained. Most animals have learned that fire means danger. They will avoid our camp, but we do not make the fire too large. We want to warn them away, not challenge them. That night, something did come to their camp. The students heard it first. Heavy footsteps, the crack of branches, something big was approaching. Panic spread through the group. Several students reached for their emergency beacons. Wait, Jin said, his voice calm but firm. Listen carefully. How is it walking? Everyone froze and listened. It is not trying to be quiet, Haewon observed. A hunting predator would be silent. Correct, Jin said. He stood up and faced the darkness. It knows we are here. It is announcing itself. That is interesting. 4 shapes emerged from the darkness. They looked like wolves, but larger, much larger. They had 6 legs instead of 4. Their eyes glowed yellow in the firelight. Their teeth were very visible. The students pressed together, made a high-pitched clicking sound of pure terror. Jin did not move toward the creatures. He did not run away. He simply stood and watched them. Haewon stood beside him, equally calm. The lead creature, the largest one, took a step forward. It was testing them. Jin picked up a long stick from beside the fire. He struck it against a rock. The loud crack echoed through the forest. The creatures paused. We are here, Jin said in a strong, clear voice. This is our camp. You are not welcome here. The lead creature growled. It was a deep, rumbling sound. Jin did not back down. He made himself bigger, raising his arms. Go, he said firmly. We are more trouble than we are worth. For a long moment nothing happened. The creatures stared. Jin stared back. Then the lead creature turned its head slightly. It made a huffing sound. The pack backed away slowly. They did not run. They simply into the darkness. When they were gone, several students collapsed in relief. You faced them down, said, voice shaking. I showed them we were not prey, Jin said, sitting back down. Predators look for easy meals. We made ourselves difficult. They decided to hunt elsewhere. But they could have attacked, said, all of them together. Yes, Jin agreed. But they would have been hurt, maybe killed. Predators know this. They do not take stupid risks. They think and evaluate just like you do. Haewon added more wood to the fire. They were curious about us. Now they know what we are. They will avoid us and we will avoid them. This is how it should be. That night the students finally began to understand. The wilderness was not a place of constant attack. It was a place of constant negotiation. Every creature was trying to survive. Conflict happened when beings did not understand each other. But understanding could be learned. And that changed everything. On the 5th day, the students woke to find Jin already working. He was weaving something from plant fibers. His hands moved with practiced skill. What are you making? Asked a student named Bora. She had purple fur and large, curious eyes. A trap, Jin said, for catching fish. Several students looked uncomfortable. We have emergency rations, said. We do not need to kill animals. Jin looked up. In a real survival situation, your rations will run out. You must know how to find food. But more importantly, you must learn to do it the right way. Haewon joined them, carrying an armful of flexible branches. The right way means understanding what you take from the forest. It means respecting the life you use to sustain your own. I do not understand, said. Killing is killing. No, Jin said gently. There is a difference between killing and hunting. Hunting is part of nature. Every predator hunts. Even some herbivores eat insects. The question is, do you hunt with respect or with cruelty? Do you take only what you need or do you waste? He finished the trap and stood up. Come, I will show you. They walked to the stream. The water was clear. Fish could be seen swimming in the shallows. They were beautiful, with scales that reflected rainbow colors in the sunlight. Jin set the trap carefully in the water. This trap is designed to catch fish of a certain size. Small fish, the young ones, can swim through. We only take the older, larger fish. This way, the population stays healthy. How long does it take? Bora asked. Patience is part of hunting, Jin said. We check the trap later. Now let me show you something else. He led them along the stream to a place where the bank was muddy. See these tracks? These are from the fishing birds that live here. They eat fish too. We are not taking more than they do. We are just one more creature in the cycle. While they waited for the fish trap to work, Haewon taught them about plants. She showed them which berries were safe to eat, which roots could be dug up and cooked, which leaves could be used for medicine. Everything you need can be found in the forest, she said, but you must know what to look for, and you must never take too much. Take some berries, but leave most for the animals and for new plants to grow. Dig some roots, but not all of them. By midday, they checked the fish trap. 3 fish were caught inside. They were a good size, enough to feed several people. Looked at the fish thrashing in the trap. They are trying to escape. Yes, Jin said. They want to live just as we want to live. This is why we must treat them with respect. He reached into the trap and quickly, skillfully ended each fish's life. The process was fast. The fish did not suffer. I will teach you to do this properly, he said to the students. If you must take a life for food, you make it quick. You make it clean. You do not cause unnecessary pain. Back at camp, Jin demonstrated how to prepare the fish. He showed them how to remove the scales, how to clean the meat, how to use every part. The meat is for eating, he explained. The bones can be used to make tools or fish hooks. The skin can be treated and used for waterproof covering. The internal parts can be used as bait for traps. Nothing is wasted. The students watched in fascination as he worked. Even who had been reluctant leaned in to see better. In my species' culture, said slowly, we only eat prepared food. Food that comes from factories. I never thought about where it truly comes from. All food comes from life, Haewon said. Plants are alive too. Even on your industrial world, something must die so you can eat. The difference is whether you acknowledge this and show gratitude, or whether you pretend it does not happen. They cooked the fish over the fire. The smell was amazing. When Jin offered the first portion to the students, hesitated. I caught this life, said. I took it from the stream. Yes, Jin said. And now it gives you strength. That is the agreement. You took only what you needed. You used it well. You honored its death by not wasting it. This is the human way. Took a bite, his antennae straightened in surprise. This is good, very good. Other students tried the fish. They were amazed, not just by the taste but by the feeling. They had provided for themselves. They had taken from nature but respectfully. Over the next days, Jin taught them more skills. He showed them how to make snares for catching small animals, how to identify animal trails, how to tell fresh tracks from old ones. He taught them about tanning. When they caught a small mammal-like creature, he showed them how to remove the pelt carefully, how to scrape the skin clean, how to treat it with solutions made from tree bark, how to stretch it and dry it. This pelt will keep someone warm, he said. The meat fed us. The bones became tools. We gave thanks to the creature for its sacrifice. This is the balance. Bora worked on tanning her first pelt with intense concentration. My people use synthetic materials for everything, she said. We thought this was more civilized, but there is something meaningful in this, something real. On the 8th day, something changed. The students were checking their fishing traps when they heard a sound, a deep, rumbling call from the forest. They recognized it immediately, the large herbivore they had met on the second day. "It sounds distressed," Hay1 said, tilting her head to listen. Without being told, the students moved toward the sound. They were no longer afraid. They were concerned. They found the creature in a clearing. It was favoring one of its legs. As they got closer, they could see why. A piece of sharp metal, probably from an old crashed ship, was embedded in its foot. The creature saw them and made a low sound, not aggressive, almost pleading. "It remembers us," Jin said. "It knows we were kind before." "Can we help it?" asked. "We can try." Jin approached slowly, hands visible, speaking in a soft voice. "Easy, friend, we want to help. Stay calm." The creature was nervous, but it did not run. Jin knelt beside the injured foot. "Bring the medical kit. Hay1, I need you to keep it calm." Hay1 began to hum. It was a low, soothing sound. The creature's ears swiveled toward her. It seemed to relax slightly. Jin examined the wound. "The metal is deep. This will hurt when I remove it, but infection will kill the creature if we leave it." "Tell us what to do," Bora said. The other students nodded. Working together, they helped, provided medicine that would numb the area. Students held still while Jin carefully pulled out the metal. The creature groaned in pain but did not pull away. It trusted them. Once the metal was out, Jin cleaned the wound thoroughly. Hay1 applied a paste made from medicinal plants they had learned to identify. They wrapped the foot in clean bandages. "There," Jin said, stepping back. "It should heal now." The creature tested its foot carefully. The pain was less. It looked at Jin, then at each of the students. Then it did something unexpected. It lowered its massive head and gently touched Jin's shoulder with its nose. A gesture of thanks. Several students gasped. Antennae were standing straight up in amazement. The creature turned and walked away, still limping slightly but much better. At the edge of the clearing, it stopped and looked back. Then it disappeared into the forest. "We just helped a wild animal," said in wonder. "A creature that we were taught to fear and avoid, and it trusted us." "Trust can cross species," Jin said. "It just requires respect and kindness first." That night, something amazing happened. The students heard heavy footsteps approaching camp. Everyone tensed. Then they relaxed. They recognized those footsteps now. The large herbivore walked into the firelight. The students stared. The creature should not be here. This was not its normal territory. In its mouth, the creature carried something. It walked up to Jin and dropped it at his feet. Then it backed away. Jin looked down. It was the remains of some kind of large fruit, very rare, very nutritious. "It brought us a gift," Hay1 said softly. "It is sharing its food with us." The creature made a soft, rumbling sound. Then it turned and walked back into the darkness. The students sat in stunned silence. "We helped it," Bora finally said, "and it helped us back." "This is what the Federation does not understand," Jin said, looking at the gift the creature had left. "They teach you that wildlife is dangerous, that you must always avoid it, but animals are more than just threats. They can be friends." Picked up a piece of the fruit and examined it. In all my training, in all the protocols, there was never mention of this possibility, that we could coexist, that we could help each other. "Your protocols were written by people who were afraid," Hay1 said. "Fear is natural, but it should not be the only thing that guides you." Stood and looked into the forest where the creature had disappeared. "We were taught to see monsters, but there are no monsters, just creatures trying to survive, just like us." "Now you understand," Jin said with a smile. "Now you are truly learning." The students ate the fruit the creature had brought. It was sweet and filling, but more than that, it was a symbol, a connection between species, a friendship that crossed all the boundaries that fear had created. As they settled down for the night, they did not huddle in fear. They rested peacefully, knowing that the forest was not their enemy. It was their home, at least for now, and they were learning to live in harmony with it. The first week had taught them skills. The second week would teach them courage. On the 10th day, everything changed. The students had become confident. They could read animal signs. They could find food and water. They could build shelter and fire. They moved through the forest with respect but not fear. Then Jin's communication device beeped urgently. He read the message, and his expression became serious. Haewon looked over his shoulder and frowned. "What is it?" asked. "A warning from the station," Jin said. "A large predator has been detected moving toward this area. They call it a razor spine. It is the apex predator of this forest." The students exchanged worried looks. They had learned much, but an apex predator was different from the other animals they had encountered. "The station recommends immediate extraction," Haewon read from the message. "They say it is too dangerous." "Stood up, then we should leave. We have learned much. We do not need to take this risk." Jin was quiet for a moment. He looked at each student. "That is one option, and if anyone wants to leave, I will not think less of you. This is a real danger." "But," Bora asked. She had learned to read the instructor's tone. "But this is also an opportunity," Jin said. "You have learned to understand small herbivores and medium predators. An apex predator is the ultimate test. If you can understand it, you can understand any wildlife." "Or it could kill us," pointed out. "Yes," Jin agreed honestly. "It could, but I do not think it will, and I would like to find out why it is coming this way. Apex predators do not usually leave their territories without reason." He looked at the communication device again. "I am going to send a message to the station. I am going to tell them we are staying, but this must be your choice too. Anyone who wants to leave can go. No shame, no judgment." The students looked at each other. After a long moment, spoke. "I came on this expedition because I was tired of being afraid. I am still afraid now, but I want to see this through." One by one, each student agreed to stay. They had changed. Fear no longer controlled them. Jin sent the message to the station. The response came quickly. It was from himself. "You are insane," the message read. "But I am overriding the extraction order. I trust you. Do not make me regret this. We will monitor closely." That night they prepared. Jin did not build weapons. Instead, he taught them about apex predators. "The razor spine is called that because of the sharp plates along its back," he explained. "It is a solitary hunter, very intelligent, very powerful. It sits at the top of the food chain." "How do we avoid it?" a student asked. "We do not avoid it," Jin said. "We respect it, we understand it. If it comes, we must read its behavior like we read other animals. Is it hunting? Is it just passing through? Is it threatened?" Haewon added, "Apex predators are confident. They do not attack out of fear. They attack when they are hungry or when they see us as competition. Our job is to show we are neither prey nor rivals." The next morning, Jin found tracks. They were massive, 4 claws each as long as a human hand. The tracks were fresh. "It came through here last night," he said, "while we slept." "It did not attack us?" asked. "No, which means it was not hunting, it was traveling." Jin followed the tracks, and it is injured. "How can you tell?" Bora asked. "See how the left hind foot drags slightly, and there is blood here." He pointed to dark spots on the ground. "Whatever is wrong, it is serious. An injured apex predator is very dangerous." "Because it is in pain," said understanding. "Pain makes creatures unpredictable." "Exactly." Jin stood up. "We need to find it. An injured predator this large will hunt more desperately. It might attack colonists or other animals. We need to understand what is wrong." "And if we find it?" asked. Jin met his eyes. "Then we help it." The students stared at him in shock. "Help an apex predator?" His voice went high. "That is beyond insane." "Is it?" Jin asked. "We help the herbivore. This is the same principle, a creature in pain. We have the knowledge and tools to help." "But the herbivore was not a predator," A student protested. All creatures deserve compassion, HFY said firmly. Predator or prey, if we can help, we should try. I will not order anyone to come with me, Jin said. This is voluntary. I am going to track this creature. Anyone who wishes to come may join me. Anyone who wants to stay at camp will be safe. He picked up the medical kit and started walking. HFY followed immediately. After a moment, clicked his mandibles nervously and followed too. If I am going to die, I might as well die doing something brave. One by one, all the students followed. They tracked the razor spine for hours. The blood trail became fresher. The dragging footprint became more pronounced. Whatever was wrong was getting worse. Finally, in a rocky area near a cliff, they found it. The razor spine was massive, easily 3 times the size of the largest student. Its body was covered in armored plates. Along its spine, sharp ridges rose like blades. Its head was broad and powerful, with jaws that could crush bone. And it was trapped. An old hunting trap, probably left by previous colonists, had clamped onto its left hind leg. The metal teeth had bitten deep. The leg was swollen and infected. The creature had been trying to chew through the trap, but the metal was too strong. When the razor spine saw the group, it roared. The sound shook the air. Every student wanted to run, but they stood their ground just as Jin had taught them. It is afraid, Jin said softly. It is in pain and trapped. It thinks we are here to finish it off. How do we show we are here to help? Bora asked, her voice shaking. Slowly, carefully, with respect. Jin set down the medical kit. He sat on the ground, making himself smaller, less threatening. Everyone sit, move slowly. The students sat. The razor spine watched them, growling. Its body was tense, ready to attack if they came closer. Jin began to speak. His voice was low and calm. He was not speaking any particular language. He was just making soothing sounds. The same tone he had used with the herbivore. Minutes passed, then an hour. The razor spine's growling became quieter. Its body relaxed slightly. Pain and exhaustion were overwhelming its aggression. Jin very slowly pushed the medical kit forward. Not toward the creature, just closer to the space between them. We want to help, he said gently. We can take away the pain, please trust us. The razor spine's eyes followed the medical kit. It was intelligent. It understood that these creatures were doing something unusual. HFY began to hum, the same sound she had used before. The razor spine's head turned toward her. The sound seemed to calm it. Jin stood up very slowly. The razor spine tensed but did not attack. He took one step forward, then another, moving like water, smooth and non-threatening. If it attacks, everyone run, he said quietly, but I do not think it will. He was now only a few meters from the massive predator, close enough to see its labored breathing, close enough to smell the infection in its wound. Jin knelt down. He kept his movements slow and visible. He opened the medical kit. The razor spine watched. It was making a decision. Attack this strange creature or allow it to approach. Jin took out a sedative, not enough to knock out something this large, but enough to dull the pain. He loaded it into an injector. This will hurt for just a moment, he said softly. Then the pain will lessen. Please understand. He moved closer. The razor spine's muscles bunched, gasped, thinking it would strike. But it did not. Jin pressed the injector against the creature's shoulder. The razor spine flinched but held still. The sedative entered its system. After a few minutes, the creature's breathing became easier. The pain was fading. Its body relaxed further. HFY, I need your help now, Jin said. Students, bring the tools we need. The large pliers, the antiseptic, the bandages. Working together, they approached the trap. The razor spine watched but did not stop them. It seemed to understand they were trying to help. The trap was old but strong. Jin and 3 students had to work together to pry it open. The metal teeth came out of the flesh slowly. Blood flowed. The razor spine growled in pain but did not attack. When the trap finally came off, HFY immediately began cleaning the wound. The infection was bad. She used strong antiseptic. She removed dead tissue. She applied medicine that would fight the infection. The students helped, held bandages. Bora kept the medicine ready. Despite his fear, held the creature's leg steady. It took over an hour to treat the wound properly. When they were done, the leg was clean, medicated, and wrapped in bandages. Jin slowly backed away. "You are free now," he said to the razor spine. "The pain will get better. Rest and heal." The razor spine stood up carefully. It tested the injured leg. The pain was much less. The trap was gone. It looked at Jin. Its eyes were intelligent and aware. Then it did something that none of them expected. It lowered its massive head and gently touched Jin's chest with its nose. The same gesture the herbivore had made, a gesture of gratitude. Then the razor spine turned and limped away into the forest. The students stood in stunned silence. His antennae were trembling. "We just saved an apex predator," he whispered. "We just made friends with it." "No creature is beyond understanding," Jin said. "No creature is beyond compassion. This is the lesson." That night back at camp, they celebrated. They had faced their greatest fear and found not a monster, but an intelligent being in pain. As they sat around the fire, they heard something moving in the darkness. The students tensed, then relaxed. They recognized the footsteps. The razor spine appeared at the edge of the firelight. In its jaws, it carried the body of a large prey animal. It dropped it near the camp and then retreated back into the shadows. "It is sharing its kill with us," HFY said in amazement. "It is returning the favor." The students looked at the meat. Then they looked at each other. They had learned to hunt. They had learned to understand. But most importantly, they had learned that kindness could cross any barrier. Even the barrier between human and apex predator. The 14th day arrived, extraction day. The students packed their camp slowly. No one wanted to leave. The forest had become their home. They understood it now. They were part of it. Jin checked their supplies. Each student carried far more than they had arrived with. Preserved fish and meat wrapped in treated leaves. Pelts from animals they had hunted respectfully. Tools made from bone and stone. Pouches of medicinal plants. Knowledge that could not be measured. "We should call for the transport," said, but there was reluctance in his voice. "Not yet," Jin said with a smile. "We have one more thing to do." He led them back to the clearing where they had first met the large herbivore. As they arrived, the creature was already there, as if it had been waiting. The students approached without fear. The herbivore lowered its head and Bora reached out to touch its neck. It rumbled with pleasure. "Thank you," Bora said softly. "You taught us so much." Other creatures emerged from the forest. The six-legged wolf-like predators they had faced on the first night. They sat at the edge of the clearing, no longer threatening, just watching. Birds landed in the trees above. Small mammals peeked from behind rocks. The forest had accepted these strange visitors. Then from the shadows, the razor spine appeared. Its leg was healing well. It moved with more confidence. The massive predator walked into the clearing and sat near the herbivore. Predator and prey, sitting peacefully together, because both trusted the humans and their students. "This should not be possible," said, his voice filled with wonder. "According to all Federation knowledge, this cannot happen." Federation knowledge was incomplete, HFY said. They studied animals from a distance, from fear. They never tried to truly understand. Jin activated his communication device. "We are ready for extraction, but tell the transport to land slowly. We will have company." At the station, alarms went off. Stared at the video feed from the student's location. He saw the razor spine. He saw the other predators. He saw the student standing calmly among creatures that should have killed them. "Impossible," he breathed. His scales flickered through several colors in rapid succession. The transport ship descended carefully into the clearing. The pilot was nervous. Through the window, he could see apex predators and other dangerous wildlife surrounding the landing zone. But the animals did not attack, they simply watched. The students began loading their supplies, but they moved slowly, stopping often to say goodbye. Touched his head to the herbivore's flank, a gesture of respect in his species' culture. Stood before the razor spine. The massive predator lowered its head, reached out with a trembling limb and touched the armored snout. "Thank you for trusting us," said. "I will never forget this." The razor spine made a low rumbling sound, not aggressive, almost sad. As the students boarded the transport, the animals followed to the edge of the clearing. They stood in a line, watching. The herbivore, the wolf pack, the birds, the small mammals, and the razor spine. A procession of wildlife, saying goodbye to beings who had shown them kindness. The transport lifted off. Through the windows, the students watched until the clearing disappeared from view. Several were crying. "We will come back," Bora promised. "Somehow we will come back." The transport docked at station. The main hangar was crowded. News of the expedition had spread across the entire facility. Hundreds of beings waited to see the students who had survived 2 weeks in the wilderness. When the doors opened, the crowd gasped. The students walked out carrying pelts, tools, preserved food. They looked healthy, strong, confident, nothing like the frightened group that had left 2 weeks ago. Approached, his scales a shocked pale green. "You are all alive, all of you, and you bring resources." "We bring more than resources," Jin said. "We bring a new understanding." The students were taken to the medical bay for examination. The doctors were amazed. No serious injuries, no malnutrition, no signs of trauma. In fact, the students appeared healthier than when they had left. That evening, a full debriefing was held in the station's largest conference room. Every instructor attended. Many students from other courses came to listen. Even the station commander was present. Jin stood at the front. Behind him, images from the expedition played on a screen. Students touching the herbivore, the razor spine accepting their help, the peaceful camp surrounded by wildlife. "For years, the Federation has taught one approach to wilderness survival," Jin began. "Avoid all wildlife. Treat every animal as a threat. Run, hide, call for extraction." He paused. "This approach is born from fear, and fear has killed 847 colonists in 3 years." The room was silent. Fear makes you run. Running triggers a predator's chase instinct. Fear makes you hide. Hiding makes you look like prey. Fear makes you panic. Panic gets you killed. Haewon stood up to join him. "We propose a different approach, understanding instead of fear, respect instead of avoidance, communication instead of silence." One of the old instructors, the one with 4 arms, stood up. "You were lucky. One expedition does not prove a method." "Then let us do another," said, standing up from his seat. "And another. We will teach what we learned." Stood as well. "I came to this expedition believing in protocols and rules. I leave believing in understanding and adaptation. The human way works because it treats animals as intelligent beings, not mindless monsters." One by one, all 12 students stood, a united front. Bora spoke next. "We learned that animals think, they evaluate, they communicate. If you understand their language, body language, sounds, behavior, you can coexist. You can even cooperate." The 4-armed instructor sat down, thoughtful. The station commander, an elderly being with wise eyes, leaned forward. "You have video evidence. You have testimonials. Most importantly, you have results. No casualties, abundant resources, even friendships with apex predators." She turned to, "What is your assessment?" Scales were now a deep blue, a color of deep thought. "I have monitored this expedition closely. I expected to order emergency extraction multiple times. I expected injuries, possibly deaths." He looked at Jin. Instead, I watched something I thought impossible. I watched different species learn to communicate across vast evolutionary divides. I watched fear transform into understanding. He stood up. The human instructors have proven their method. I recommend it be integrated into our standard training. The room erupted in discussion. Some agreed enthusiastically, others were cautious, but no one could deny the results. The station commander raised her hand for silence. I am sending a full report to the Federation Council. I am recommending that Instructor Jin and Haewon be appointed as senior advisors for wilderness survival training across all Federation facilities. She looked directly at Jin. Will you accept this position? Jin glanced at Haewon. She nodded. We will, Jin said, but we have conditions. The students who completed this expedition must be allowed to become instructors. They have earned that right, and we must be allowed to teach our way without interference from old protocols. Agreed, the commander said immediately. Over the next weeks, word spread across the Federation. The story of the human instructors and their students became famous. Requests for training came from dozens of worlds. Bora and the other students began teaching their own courses. They taught with the same respect and understanding that Jin had shown them. 6 months after the original expedition, the results were clear. Wilderness casualties had dropped by 70% across all Federation colonies. Colonists were thriving on frontier worlds, living in harmony with local ecosystems instead of in fear. New graduates did not just survive. They built communities that worked with nature instead of against it. They traded with wildlife, gifts of food for protection. They learned migration patterns to avoid conflicts. They established boundaries that both humans and animals respected. On Verdes 4, a permanent research station was established. Jin and Haewon lived there, continuing to study the wildlife and teach new students. The large herbivore became a regular visitor to the research station. It brought its young ones, teaching them that these strange beings were friends, not threats. The razor spine maintained its territory nearby. It sometimes left gifts of prey at the station's edge, a sign of continued friendship. One day came to visit the station. His scales were a warm golden color, a color of happiness and pride. The Federation Council has made a decision, he said. They are renaming the Wilderness Survival Program. It will now be called the Human Coexistence Method. Jin smiled. We did not create this method. Earth created it. Millions of years of evolution, teaching humans to understand predators because we had to live alongside them. Perhaps, said, but you brought that knowledge to the stars. You showed us that the galaxy does not have to be divided into civilized zones and wilderness zones, that we can live everywhere with respect and understanding. He looked out the window at the forest. You changed how we see wildlife, but more importantly, you changed how we see ourselves. We are not separate from nature. We are part of it. That evening, a new class of students arrived. They were nervous, afraid, full of the old teachings about avoiding wildlife. Jin stood before them with and at his side. Through the window behind them, the razor spine could be seen resting peacefully at the forest edge. Welcome, Jin said. For the next 2 weeks, you will learn a different way, not the way of fear, but the way of understanding, not the way of avoidance, but the way of respect. He smiled. You will learn that the wilderness is not your enemy. You will learn that animals are not monsters. You will learn that friendship is possible, even with creatures that could kill you. A student raised a tentacle nervously. Is it true that you befriended an apex predator? Jin walked to the window and tapped on it gently. The razor spine's head lifted. It looked at Jin and made a soft sound of greeting. See for yourself, Jin said. The student stared in amazement. Remember this, Jin said, turning back to face them. Fear is a choice, respect is earned, and friendship is always possible if you are willing to try. He gestured toward the door that led to the forest. "Now come, your education begins. The wilderness is waiting and it has much to teach you." The students followed him out into the forest. The same forest that had once terrified the first class. The same forest that had become a home. Behind them, the razor spine stood up and followed at a distance, watching over the new students, protecting them as it had been protected. The survival instructor had said to avoid all wildlife, but the human had taught a better way, a way of coexistence, a way of friendship, a way that honored both survival and compassion. And because of that, the galaxy would never be the same.